Hi everyone, this is the Heart Property Managers YouTube channel and my name is Winnie. If you're new here and you're coming to this video for the first time, we welcome you to our YouTube channel. We are a licensed real estate agency company based in Nairobi, Kenya. So welcome to our YouTube channel and please click the like button, subscribe, comment, and let us continue growing our real estate family. So on today's video, I just want to discuss or to bring a subject that is rarely talked about, but it's constantly bringing a disorder in our society. That is family dispute concerning real estate. So what prompted me to do this video is because a while back I met a client. We had an appointment, and on the last minute, this client canceled the appointment and said he has to rush to the village and sort out a family situation because his mother's life was in danger. So, having said that, a few days later, I tried to reach out to this client to find out what had happened and what was putting his mother's life in danger. So he told me, Winnie, I'm an only son and I have sisters who are married. My dad is late. So my mom is the only one who is at the village. But we constantly have this dispute over a boundary with one of my uncles who keeps on, whenever he's plowing, he continuously extend his boundary. And my mom called me and told me that the boundary has been extended to where my dad was buried. And of course, this conflict has brought a lot of discomfort for him as a person. So he got a call that the mom and the uncle had a tiff concerning the issue of that boundary. So he had to rush off because I think the chief and the village elders were invited and gathered to manage the situation. So he went to the village. So his feedback when he came from the village, I asked him, so how did you resolve the issue? How did you resolve the problem? So this gentleman told me that when I arrived at home, being the only son, I'm a pilot, I'm very busy. So most of the time, I do not have time probably to go home and take care of my mom. So I went home specifically to bring my mom to live with me in the city because I cannot constantly be worried about her welfare because of this dispute. So when he arrived at home, the meeting was gathered as usual. Usually, the chief, the village elders, and all those people, family members who are related to the people, are invited to solve the dispute. So, as I talk about this, I think if you are in a family and if you are having disputes concerning property, you can see the methodologies that have been created. That is kind of sort of a mediation that is created. So the chief was invited, the village elders were invited, the uncle was invited, plus some family members were invited to that meeting. So when the meeting started, the mom raised the concern, the chief, everybody was allowed to talk, and my client was the last person to talk. So when he was given an opportunity to talk, he told the uncle that, uncle, my nature of work, I am someone who is always flying. And in reality, one day I might die, the plane might fall in one of the oceans and my body might never even be found. So I might not even be buried here. The reason why I am concerned, I'm always here and coming home is because of my mother, because my father is late. So because of my nature of my work and I'm moving a lot, I honestly don't see any reason why my mother should be here and fight. But concerning the land boundary, he told the uncle that really, I know you are blessed to live forever. So it is okay. The next time you want to plow and you want to, plow on top of my father's grave, please go ahead and do so. Because my father is already dead. It's only on bones that are down there. So you can just plow all over there if you want to plant fruits, whatever it is that you want to plant, go ahead and let your plow cross over to the grave and as far as you want. Because for me, I know I can die anytime and I don't even know where I would be buried. But as far as my mother is concerned, where my mother will be buried is not even a big deal. So I want you to feel free. Don't feel this. I'm not saying because I'm angry at you. I just tell you that I know life is fickle and I can die anytime. And wherever I die, I might not get an opportunity to be buried here. Then he left the meeting. and went to the shopping center. And they tried to call him and say, so now, I think naturally people don't want the conflict to end, because for him, he basically ended that conflict by saying, I have no dispute over the boundary. You can plow and dig and go as far as you want. You know, I'm taking my mother with me to the city. And so you have all the land for yourself. You can do whatever you want with it. So I listened to him and said, wow, 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 wow. So what is the reaction of the uncle? So when he tried to convince the mother, as usual, our mothers, you know them, they don't want to leave their chicken, they don't want to leave their small kitchen garden to come and live in the city. So he tried to convince his mother to travel with him to the city, that's the capital, Nairobi. But the mother said, no, I don't want to go to Nairobi. But he came back to Nairobi. The following week, he got a call from the mom that the uncle had actually erected a boundary on the right place where it should have been originally. What lessons are we learning from this? That this gentleman, instead of going to assert his rights, instead of going to fight and say, this is my father's land, the boundary should be on that oak tree, or the boundary should be just near the river, you're crossing the boundary, and start a fight, the conflict would have been escalated to another level. But because he rescinded his position, he decided to stay calm. He decided to be reasonable and say, I do not want to get into any conflict with anyone. If it is this land, if it is this part of the grave that you want to plow, please go ahead and do it. And that was a powerful reverse psychology. So the uncle went ahead and erected a proper chain link fence on where the boundary should be, without him sitting, without the chief being called, without anyone telling him that this is what you need to do. And that is how that conflict got resolved. So the reason why I'm doing this video is because many families always take a hard stand. We speak to each other, we talk to each other. We don't speak to each other, we don't listen to each other. We take very, very strong positions, not knowing that every weapon of destruction that you're carrying to try and stop another family member from doing whatever or from owning whatever is actually a weapon of destruction against yourself. Because when you begin to burn, you all burn. I know family members, and I'll give another example of another family that also reached out, and this is not related to anyone I know, not related even to me personally. But I want to say that conflict generally for human is inevitable. So conflict concerning or dispute concerning property is, at least out of every 10 families, you'll find 6 families that are having conflict over property. So if I pick from the first story that I said, the first step was the family to invite an external person, someone who is not related to you. The chief was invited, the village elders were there, the other family members were there to bring this conflict to order. And then the people who were in conflict themselves were in the meeting. So if the dispute on property has to be resolved, maybe if you can't, you try and do it internally. Because I believe even my client who had traveled to the village to bring his mother to town had tried to resolve this internally. That means calling the uncle and saying, you can't plow my father's grave. You can't plant maize on my father's grave because that's my father's land. And that brings the other issue when it comes to inherited property. Long before we got here, long before we started talking about this land belongs to me or this land belongs to my father, if you look at the traditional setup before civilization, many people would marry many wives because that means that you'd occupy more land. There were no title deeds. Or you'd have more children so that you can occupy more land. But things have changed. Population has increased and land has remained the same, meaning the desire and the demand for land keeps on going higher and higher. But when it comes to inherited property or family property, the method that the gentleman, my client, used was one of the best mitigation, because he called on ceasefire by removing himself and saying, I do not want to be part of this. And I know several people who have done that. If you're watching this video and you are probably entitled to inherit something from your father, or you are given some piece of property by your parents, and because of family dispute, you decided to remove yourself from it and say, okay, whatever it is, you people can have the whole property, and me, I'm going to buy my own property and I move on with my life. There are people who have made those decisions and they're living very peacefully. There are other people who have decided, like the gentleman said, if you feel that up to this oak or up to this purple fruit or up to this river is still yours, it's probably just 6 meters from the original boundary, please have it. I noted people don't realize how expensive it is to get into this dispute. Even if you choose to go through the court process, it is painful, it is emotionally draining, psychologically draining, it ruins relationships, it trickles down to generations and generations, and it seems it will not have no end because once you start it, it just keeps on going from one angry person to the next angry child to another angry grandchild. When it comes to inherited property, when I say I've met people who have actually abandoned what they inherited and they went far, far off and bought their own piece of land for their own peace of mind. And I believe that the people who they abandoned the land for, they still remain bitter. That's the funny thing about it. That when you have a conflict over property with someone and you decide and say, okay, you have it all, then you go elsewhere and buy your own property. The people you left the land for, they'll still follow you. They still feel bitter. So conflict, there's some conflict that you see people who are not out to get a resolution to that conflict, but are out to see either to bring each other down because they have sibling rivalry or family rivalry, or the external forces, other people who have their own interest in the property are fueling it from outside. So I'm still using the first example I gave as a dispute mechanism concerning conflict on real estate. Because if you sit down, I noted in Nairobi, one of my clients, this is just a second example of how sometimes family disputes can leave even those who own property and they want to pass it on to their children feel unappreciated. Let me use the word, they feel unappreciated. So even in this particular case, a client owns several properties in Nairobi. They have 3 children, and so they decided to allocate each and every child a property. But what feedback did I get? One child says, I don't like this property located here. Why did you give so and so this one? And this other person is saying, no, I want a property. This other property is earning more money, and you decided to give the other person. It is a gift. It is a gift. Anything that someone is inheriting from their parent, it's not a right. It's a gift. It's a gift. And I see many, many, many clients, or some of the clients that have gotten themselves in that space, deciding to sell all the properties. They sell all their properties and then they decide to distribute the money. So in my tribe, they say loja joke, meaning the earth can bewitch you. It can bless you or bewitch you. I've seen conflict where children refuse to work, like in situations where the family owns several rental properties. And so they allocate the children like managers to these properties and they refuse to work and begin to manage this property, including selling them without the consent of the parents. And this brings deep dispute because at that time you find maybe the man or woman is elderly and you don't want to get into conflict with your children, but you see them mismanaging what you really work hard for. I remember a conversation with a client who told me, while I was working for government and all the trips I went to, I saved money to buy this piece of land, saved more money and built this house, and look at what they're doing now. So I feel like majority of times when people get consumed, and the real issue behind family dispute concerning property is greed, because people get so consumed on what they're given more than what they themselves what they can have. And if you notice, most people who have the loudest are the most chaotic people when it comes to family dispute, are making the least effort also to acquire property. They focus so much on what was given or what was inherited than what they themselves they can inherit. And the sad thing about it that even the smallest piece of property can bring so much conflict between family members to an extent that the family just breaks down completely. That there's no reason beyond saying, okay, it's an acre of land. We are two of us. We can actually divide it. And this is something it also connected to gender, because traditionally in African communities, men have been over time inherited every property. But now the law provides that even women can inherit property. And the bitterness that comes with it is, I don't get it, because marriages have failed to work. Or at least you can get married to someone who don't own anything, who does not have land. So what is wrong if your sister was given 6 acres of land so that they can also secure themselves? If your dad had 12, gave your sister 6, you're given 6. Why would you feel that you deserved everything? It is greed. And most people don't even stop to think when they begin on this journey of greed. They destroy relationship. They're willing to go out and do everything. Like you meet brothers and sisters who don't talk to each other at all over a property that they themselves did not purchase. They themselves have not spent their own money, but they were given as a gift, as an inheritance by their parents. So instead of appreciating and growing this gift, these conflicts totally. I saw one online the other day about this family that has had a conflict for over 25 years, brothers and sisters, who people even feel their life are threatened. They feel their life are in danger because of family members over property disputes. So if you're watching this video, this is what I'll say. If you're a family member and you value family, the first step is calm down. Calm down. You cannot put emotions when you want to resolve the dispute. You must have a space where you can't put on the fire when you are the one carrying the matchbox. When you're inside, you need to step out in order to rescue the other people. Because every single weapon of mass destruction that you're carrying in your hands, that you're aiming at another family member, is actually targeting you. You're targeting yourself. I am happy that majority of people are very much aware that at the end of the day, what do you stand to gain and what do you stand to lose? I think that is where most people don't check. What do you stand to gain and what do you stand to lose? If this energy, negative energy continues, what do you stand to gain? If you stop the war, come out and try and rescue everybody else, what do you stand to gain? Secondly, have you tried to use alternative dispute resolution methods, like what I mentioned earlier, bringing other people who are non-family members to try and solve this? And thirdly, which method are you using to communicate your grievances? Which method are you using to speak to the other person that you don't agree with? And fourth, in the event that this is not working at all, you've tried every means to communicate, you still have an alternative to get yourself off. Buy yourself a piece of land and live somewhere happily. Because I can assure you, the dispute concerning inheritance, property dispute among family members always have a very painful ending if not resolved or if not mitigated by the methods that I've suggested. Sit down, try and speak calmly and softly to each other, and try and listen to what the other person is saying before you respond. Do not get to hard position, because it is better to both of you to plow the 1 acre land and share the harvest than fight over it forever or go to court and stop any activity from happening on it totally and you all lose. You understand? So I feel like this method of try and stay calm, try and use alternative dispute resolution methods, try and listen to what the other person is saying. Please get away yourself from the whole situation and think more clearly before you react to the whole mess of the dispute. And don't don't overly think about this and share too much. There are people who share too much. You get so emotional. You're taking this to all levels that you shouldn't. When ideally the person you should be speaking to, you've left them. So don't go and speak to other people and leave the people that you should be discussing this, and that is your family members. Do not let property dispute escalate to a level that it destroys your family fabric. So that is all from us today. And please, if you're here watching us for the first time, like this video, I would like us to continue this conversation about property disputes within family. And I'm just saying family, uncles, aunties, brothers, sisters, cousin. Oh, I'm talking about us. I'm talking about all of us. So let us gather and find out which are the best mitigation measures you've used in your own family to resolve dispute concerning property. Are you still going through the same? And what methods do you think works? Which methods do you think don't work? And do you believe that it is possible to mitigate this dispute to a level, at least even if you don't resolve it, but at least it leaves you feeling family, even if you've not resolved the issue, but you still feel as family despite the challenges or the disputes you're having. So that's all from us today at the Heart Property Managers. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel so that we can continue growing our real estate family. And until next time, bye bye.